Again, my name is Vincent Ramlochan, and I am the commercial officer attached here at the commercial office at the Embassy of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago here in Panama City. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time from your busy schedules to join us here this morning to learn about distributor contracts and intellectual property. I know that this morning has been a difficult morning for most of you in Trinidad and Tobago because I've heard about hours of traffic. So I do appreciate the time that you all are taking to be here with us. This has been a topic of great interest from exporters, and it is my hope that this session will provide you with a clearer understanding of contracts and IP. Based on the experiences by exporters to countries like the Dominican Republic as it relates to distributor contracts, I know there's been a bit of hesitancy by exporters when seeking to do business in other Spanish-speaking markets. But our experts this morning will do their best to bring you accurate and current information that will help you make an informed decision when keeping your mind at ease when doing business here within Latin America, specifically Panama. So just a few housekeeping announcements before we start. All microphones and cameras have been disabled. This has been done to minimize disruptions and to ensure that the sessions will be able to preserve bandwidth. There's also a question and answer session at the end of all presentations for approximately 5 minutes, but I would like to suggest typing your questions in the chat bar for our presenters to be able to answer these questions throughout the session. This will allow us to answer as many questions as possible in this short session. Finally, the webinar is being recorded and all presentations will be shared with participants after the event. So without any further delay, I would like to introduce to you our first presenter, who is Mr. Adolfo Gonzalez Ruiz, who is an associate at Icaza Gonzalez Ruiz and Aleman, who will share with us key aspects about distributor contracts in Panama. Over to you, Adolfo.
Thanks, Vincent. How are you all? Good morning. Well, today we have done a presentation to talk about how to doing business in Panama, and specifically with the distribution contracts and IP and all the related matters. So we're going to begin directly with this. Okay. Sorry. So first of all, let's talk about a little bit about our law firm. As mentioned, our law firm is Icaza Gonzalez Ruiz Aleman. We are a Panamanian law firm. This year we are celebrating 100. We are almost all the lawyers, I think so. And we have we cover all the legal aspects in Panama. And we have, as you may see, we have we are a few generations younger and older lawyers.
Before you continue, I'm not seeing your presentation on the screen.
You're not seeing it?
No, I'm not seeing a presentation. I don't know if others are seeing the presentation, but it's not showing on the screen.
Give me 1 second. I'm sorry for these technical problems. Now?
Yes, now it's showing.
Okay. So perfect. Okay, yes. Coming back. So as mentioned, we have a good team of lawyers. We are more than 25 lawyers, and we cover all the legal aspects in Panama. As mentioned, some of our legal areas: banking and finance, labor law, immigration, contracts, tax law, litigations, environmental, IP, corporate services, and we also have a fiduciary, a trust company, and a accounting service companies that are also part of the law firm. So we have another additional services that we can help our clients. And for last, well, with these are ones of our recognitions and in the ranking and in the legal ranking areas. As you may see, well, we are a good law firm in Panama. Okay, and for last, sorry, we also have other companies, other offices in other jurisdictions as Cyprus, Switzerland, Uruguay, Singapore, Hong Kong, and BVI also. Okay, let's talk about a little bit about Panama. Thanks, some of our advantages to do business in Panama. Of course, is our geographic location. We are almost in the middle of America, so that gives us a opportunity to connect among all the countries nearby. Thanks for our country that, well, is a little bit small. We have a good global connectivity through ports and international airports. We have our country connects both oceans with the canal, so that gives us the privilege to have a global connectivity from various aspects or various ways. We also have a good telecommunication and infrastructure that help companies to establish and have a good service in Panama. Our laws they does not prohibit the foreign investment. So we are a open country for foreigners. As you may know, we use the US dollar, and that gives us a good opportunity because we have a good banking system, and also a good banking center. We have a lot of banks from other countries. Well, among our territorial tax regime, we have in our country you only pay income taxes for the products or the services that you do in our country. We're going to talk a little bit more about this aspect. We also have a special economic zones that give good incentive to foreign investments, or in this case for the distribution. And we have a good stability investment system because our laws protect the foreign investment. So, coming back to the tax system, as mentioned, in Panama, we have a territorial tax system that you only pay income for as mentioned before, for the products or the services that you provide from Panama. So, if you distribute something and from let's say Trinidad and Tobago, and it goes to Colombia, but the product was first in a warehouse located in a special region. The company of you in this case won't pay income taxes in Panama, and we will talk about this more. But yes, all the distributions that pass by Panama, but they are not they does not come into they does not enter to our country. They does not pay income taxes. Of course, if the product comes to Panama and it is sold in Panama, well, there of course that the company must provide a declaration for the incomes that according to the transactions. Okay, going through distribution activities. In Panama, we used to have the distribution activity was regulated with a specific law, but well, in a few years back, the Supreme Court declared the law unconstitutional. So the So now the distribution activity is not regulated as a specific law, but we have to go to the general law, and in this case, is the civil code. So basically, there's one article that that mentions that the contracted party may establish the covenant clauses that they deem convenient, and they cannot be contrary to the law and public order. So basically, this give the investment to the distributors the free way to negotiate the contracts of the parties deemed convenient. So this is a good thing in certain matters, because you have the free will to negotiate as you want with the Panamanian companies or with the with the businesses that you do in Panama. In Panama, the contracts can be drafted in English. It is common, but it's also common to translate it to Spanish, because in Panama the Spanish is the main language. But you can draft and negotiate the contracts in English. Some of the common clauses that you will see in a contract, is the product and territory clause that specifies which are the products that will be distributed, and the territory, the obligations of both parts, if the distribution in Panama has exclusivity or not. That is an important clause. Also, there's some of the contracts have a non-labor relationship that establish that the parties, they only have a commercial relation, and that the contract does not establish labor relationship. So you can protect yourself from labor laws. We also have, well, you can also mention about the stock, this is part also of the obligations, that the distributor in Panama should have enough stock to fulfill your obligations. The payment methods, as mentioned, well, we have the US dollar, so it's easy to have, well, for you to negotiate how you're going to pay in Panama. And non-compete agreement, IP, that we will talk about a little bit more in the next topic, and termination clauses and indemnification if in this case, let's say that any breach of contract. So these are the common clauses. Of course, you can include any clause, any additional clause that you wish for. As mentioned, the parties have the free way to negotiate each contract according to your situation, to your ways, to your internal politics about the company. So yes, well, this is one of the most common clauses that I have seen and negotiate in this type of contracts. And we'll a little bit talking about special economic zones and regimes in Panama. We have this type of areas that are very they have good incentive for the distributions, and basically they are warehouse in which you can rent and space, and you can bring your products to Panama to be your main warehouse, and then you can import it to other countries. Well, so once the products are in the warehouse that are established in those special economic zones, they are not considered Panamanian in Panamanian territory, so they don't pay taxes. If you wish to negotiate or do business with a Panamanian company and the product is going to enter to the territory, then the product will pay a tax, and of course you have to declare the incomes that for the transactions or the sales that you do in Panama. So basically, if you bring all your products to Panama and then you resend it to other countries, you won't pay taxes because the product wasn't considered wasn't in Panama territory. So we have two. Well, there are the free trade zones that they are. Well, we have a lot of them in Panama that they are located in different points of the country. And we have also the Colón free zone that is this is the most common one and most well known. It is located in the province of Colón, in which they have a port and they also have an airport. So it's the most common one that distribution companies use for. And they have, well, as mentioned, incentives, tax incentive, migration, and labor incentive for the people who establish their companies in the free trade zones. So now we're going to change the matter, and we're going to talk about IP. So my colleague Fernando González Ruiz will take place in my chair.
Hi, my name is Fernando González Ruiz. I'm an associate specializing in intellectual property matters here in Casa González Alemán. So today we're going to speak a little bit about what is intellectual property and some of the requirements and other things related to intellectual property in Panama. So what is intellectual property? Intellectual property refers to the creations of the mind, such as inventions, literary artistic works, designs and symbols, names, images used in commerce. The intellectual property is, as you may know or not know, is divided in two areas. In industrial property, which covers trademarks, patents, industrial designs, industrial models, among other things, and in copyright, which is more of creations of authors related to music, related to books, etc. Today, we're going to focus a little bit more on industrial property, which is more direct with related to trademarks. So the government agency in Panama that is responsible for registering trademarks is the General Directorate of Industrial Property, which is it is a directorate which is related to the Ministry of Commerce of Panama. So in 2012, our law had some amendments made by Law 61 of October 5, which some of the main changes, and I mentioned this, I know it is an old amendment, but I mentioned this because there are some important, they added some important things that maybe are of importance to you, that they included the geographical indications or designations among the intellectual manifestations susceptible of protection, which includes among the best known geographical indications that have been requested in Panama is Champagne from the region of France. So one of the other amendments is that to reduce formalities in the trademark legislation, the license of use of trademarks that had to be registered in the past in order to enter into effect between the parties, now since 2012, the license of use do not have to be registered before the trademark office in order to have effect between the parties. So it's like a private contract. One of the other amendments, they added the smell or olfactory trademarks, which is what is called the non-common trademarks. There are the like smell, sound trademarks. They added those in the new laws. The Law 61 established priority to the national use. Before this amendments, the use abroad was highly regarded. Now you have to have a national use in order to prove a use here in Panama. Now the trade name of a company, industrial service or establishments does not have to be registered. Before you had to register it, now you do not have to register the commercial name or trade name in order to have a protection. The only difference is that you don't have to register it, but the protection is only for the area that the store or business operates. So what are the main requirements for a trademark registration in Panama? A power of attorney in the name of our law firm. The notarization or legalization is not required. So it's a simple power of attorney signed by the legal representative of the company. With that, it will suffice. Information the trademark has already been used, or if it's going to be used in the Panamanian market. So if you haven't been using the trademark in Panama, or you haven't started using it in Panama, it is no problem to register a trademark. You have to put in the application that the trademark is going to be used. So it's no problem with that. So the authorization to designate our address for any judicial proceedings. One of the amendments in the law was that in order to notify companies faster, instead of when companies are not Panamanian companies, is that our law firm puts their address for any notification from a judicial proceeding. So it is way faster for us to know if any trademark has been opposed or has any other judicial proceeding. And if the trademark has a design, you can send us a design of the trademark, if it is in color or not, if we have to reivindicate colors or not. So that information you can give it to us once you decide to register a trademark, and depending on the trademark. What is the procedure? First, after we have all the documentation, we file the application before the General Director of Industrial Property of the Ministry of Commerce, as mentioned before. Then there is an examination of the application when the examiners make sure that we comply with everything from form and the law. So after that examination, if it complies with everything, the application is published in an official bulletin. When any third party that is interested or thinks that trademark affects them can file an opposition. That is published for 2 months. If nobody in those 2 months nobody objects the trademark, then after that is just to wait until the granting of the trademark. So the issuance of the certificate of registration. This procedure may take around 8 to 12 months if everything goes smoothly. So it is not a quick procedure, but it's not also as long. If there is sometimes it could be a little bit less, but normally it's around 8 to 12 months. Some tips and recommendations that I usually give to companies from abroad that want to register trademarks. First is to do a search before the trademark office, to the database of the trademark office, to make sure that there's any other trademark that may be an obstacle for the registration and use of your trademark in Panama. Also, is before you enter, if you want to bring products to Panama, you're going to enter into a distribution agreement with a local company. Make sure that you register a trademark first at the name of your company, and do not let the distributor register your trademark in their name. We have seen a lot of companies in Panama lose their trademarks or having to buy their trademarks back because the distributor registered their trademarks in Panama. We have seen that a lot more than you may think. So that's one of my main tips and recommendation for Panama. First, do the search. Make sure that the trademark is available for registration and use. And after that, make sure to register it before you enter into a distribution agreement. Because into that distribution agreement, you're going to give that distributor the license to use your trademark. So in order to give the license to use your trademark, you must have it registered in Panama in order to have the rights. Okay, so you have any questions? I vote for me out here, so.
Okay, Thank you, Fernando, and thank you, Adolfo, for that presentation. I think there were some key bits and pieces of information that I think I just want to reiterate for some of our companies. You know, that there are no specific laws when it comes to protect distributors in Panama, that it can be the general law and it's something that can be negotiated. So I hope that is something that you guys are paying close attention to when you all start this process. I think as well with the trademark, I thought it was a great tip not to register, not to let the trademark be registered by the distributor, but to make sure it's registered in the exporter's name. And guys, this is, you know, a reminder, if you have any questions for Adolfo or Fernando, please type it into the chat bar and we will try and answer some of those questions throughout the session. We just have one other presentation this morning, and this presentation is going to focus on co-financing and some of the funding mechanisms that are available to exporters who are looking to do business in Panama. So Mr. Jonathan Cicharan, who's the Technical Officer for Grants and Funding at exporTT, will share with us on these funding mechanisms and what is the process for exporters to be able to access these funding mechanisms. Jonathan, over to you.
Hi, thanks, Vincent. Let me just share my presentation quickly. Just give me 1 second. So I would take it that everyone can see the presentation on screen, yes?
Yes, you can.
All right, so good morning, everyone. Firstly, let me just thank the Commercial Office in Panama for having us present today, as well as let me extend some thanks to the presenters that came before me. Really and truly, my role here today is just to segue nicely into what would have been said by the other presenters in terms of what exporTT can do in terms of supporting local exporters with respect to contracts and IP when they go to Panama in terms of the funding that we have available. So what I'll do, let me just quickly, for those of you who are not familiar with exporTT, we are Trinidad and Tobago's export promotion agency. We basically help companies try to get their products and services out there into the global market. We do that through things like capacity building via grants, trade certifications like a certificate of origin. We do some export-related market research, and we also do some trade missions as well. Just to quickly move on to the specifics of how we can help, as Vincent would have mentioned, there is a grant called a co-financing facility, which is designed to help companies penetrate export markets. One of the areas in which that is supported by the co-financing actually is the registration of intellectual property in overseas markets, right? In terms of how it works, you can get funding up to 50% of the IP registration costs as either being reimbursable or paid directly to your supplier. Depending on the size of your company, it will dictate the amount of support you can get. So you talk for large companies, you're looking at up to 50,000 TT dollars, medium companies 55,000 TT dollars, and for small companies, this is 60,000 TT dollars. Just a point of note, you don't have to use the full amounts to the limits. This is the general limits for the fund as a whole, so you don't have to use the entire thing for intellectual property. There are several other areas that are covered under co-financing, but given today's topic, we'll just focus on the intellectual property for now. Again, this would have been covered by the previous presenters. in terms of registering intellectual property, the types of IP supported by the co-financing would be things like patents, trademarks, industrial designs, and all these other different IPs, right? So if you're going to a different country, if you're going outside of Trinidad and Tobago, you want to ensure that your IP is properly protected, and the co-financing is here to support that. In addition to which, as an English-speaking nation, if we're going to export markets that are non-English speaking countries, contracts are a big part of it. So things like translating contracts, that is also supported under the co-financing facility, and the same limits apply. So the same 50% support, depending on the size of your company, to those limits, that is also supported. Let me just quickly move on to the process. So there are 5 basic steps. One, you'll need to submit all the documentation. These documentation include the co-financing application form, your quotes and invoices from your supplier or whichever firm is doing the registration for you, your company registration documents, as well as your company financials. You submit this to exporTT, we will review it. If it is suitable, we take it to an evaluation committee. If it isn't suitable, we'll ask the applicant to just rework it and resubmit it. The evaluation committee, it is an internal committee. They will review it and make a decision, right? At that point, supplemental information can be requested of the applicant, just to provide more support and information in terms of the application itself. After that, our contract is drafted and signed, and then we make the disbursements according to the payment mechanism. The payment mechanism simply refers to whether we are going to reimburse it or pay the supplier directly. Whichever is more convenient to the applicant will more often than not choose that option, right? Usually it's reimbursable. In terms of the eligibility criteria, a company must be locally owned, in operation for at least 1 year, and they must be a current or potential exporter. Just a point of note, it is preferable if the companies who are applying, they have some sort of presence in the local market before they apply. Again, in terms of the documentation, I would have mentioned this previously. Your application form, your registration documents, your financial statements, your quotes and invoices. Just a note specifically where IP is concerned. Based on the precedent set, the filing fees are what are considered. So ensure that the supplier appropriately breaks down all the costs that you are going to incur before you submit it to us here at exporTT. I want to also point out that the application process itself, because it's an internal committee, takes about a couple of weeks. So between 1 to 2 weeks in terms of when you send in the application, when we send it to the committee and you get a response, it takes about 1 to 2 weeks to get that response, and then probably an additional 3 working days to get the contract sorted. And then we can go ahead and make the disbursements. In terms of disbursements, we essentially make disbursements once you have paid after the contract is signed. So after you sign a contract, you go ahead and make your payments, and then we do the disbursements. So that was just my brief presentation. For any additional information, please feel free to reach out to me, and we can have a conversation on the way forward. So thank you, Vincent, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jonathan, for that information. Guys, I think it's a great service that everyone should, take advantage of. What I would just like to do is just to take a look at the chat bar just to see if there are any questions. And I may have some questions if there aren't other questions, but there's one for Fernando in the chat bar. I don't know if you have had an opportunity to take a look at it.
Yes, I saw a question. In case of the trademark registration, if you have 20 products, will have to be registered individually or just a company name with a tariff? Okay, for trademark registration, you have to register the name of the trademark that you're going to use or you want to register in Panama. And regarding the products, that will enter the class, the classification of the Nice Convention that is from 1 to 45, if I'm not mistaken right now, which from 1 to 34 is for services, for products, and from 35 to 42 or 45 are services. So it will depend on the product or services that you're going to offer. And then we can tell you, okay, you have to register your trademark in this class or in several classes. Our law allows for multi-class application. That means that in one application, you can register 4, 3, or 5 classes, depending on the protection that you will need in Panama. That will be the products that you're going to sell in Panama. Because let's say you have 5 different products in your line, but you're just going to sell one product in Panama. So maybe it's recommended just to file a trademark in one class. But if you were going to sell different products, maybe it's a multi-class application in 4 or 5 products. It will depend on each case.
Okay, thank you, Fernando. And Fernando, as we have you here, would you be able to share with us like how long is the process normally, how long it takes to do the search?
The search is very quick. We have 2 types of searches. There is a quick search that we can do online in the web page of the General Directorate of Industrial Property. But the system is not as reliable as it used to be because it was affected by a virus a couple of years ago. So the information is there for a quick overview of to know if it is available or not. But there's also the official search that we request the trademark office to give us like a list of the trademarks that are similar or identical to the one you want to register, or if there is any other trademark available that is more reliable. That can take around 5 days. The other one is very quick, 1 or 2 days. We can have it for you.
Christian, as again, if this is a one-time registration.
Yeah, the registration is for 10 years, renewable for 10 additional years.
Okay, perfect. And just one question for me again, Fernando, as it relates to IP. Like, what is the average cost of like the application for the IP?
That will depend if it is a one-class application or if it's a multi-class application. It could be around 400 something, including expenses and fees and taxes.
Okay, perfect. Guys, if you all have any more questions for Fernando, please pop them into the chat.
Just to add, depends if there's a one-class application or multi-class application, because the trademark office also charges additional taxes for multi-class application per class.
Okay, perfect. And Adolfo, and just because exporTT spoke about this whole issue with translation of documents, especially when we're doing contracts, I saw in your presentation that you said the use of a certified public translator when we're doing that. Could you just share a little bit of information about that for our companies?
Well, no, it's very basic. The thing is that in Panama, the translation documents must be translated by a certified person in Panama for the legal well, it's for the validation of the document. They have to be translated by a person that is certified in Panama.
Okay, so going forward, if we need to translate any documents that is needed for contracts, it should be translated in Panama by a certified public translator.
Yes, I confirm, yeah.
We do have official translators here in our office that can help you with that.
Okay, great. And I think for me, as I'm not seeing any more questions, my last question for you, Adolfo, will be about arbitration. Like, what is that process like if we do have any issues and we need to go to arbitration? Like, Do you have any idea if we can outline that process for us?
Yes, of course. Well, the arbitration is a way for the parties to solve their matters. It is important to include an arbitration clause in the contract. So that's very important to have it. In Panama, we have a chamber of commerce that is the entity in charge of that. Inside the offices, they have the arbitration tribunals, and all the parties they have the will, if they have an arbitration clause, to submit a arbitration process against the companies in Panama. So yes, that's a way.
All right, great. So I don't know if there's any last thoughts from any of our presenters this morning. Is there any other last thoughts or comments before we come to a close? No. All right. I don't think there are any more questions, but as we approach the end of this morning session, I just want to thank everyone, including our presenters, for their willingness to share their knowledge and their expertise with us to help us better understand these key concepts when doing business here in Panama. And just a reminder for our companies in Trinidad and Tobago, this is just the first part of the legal series that we are doing, and our next session will take place on Thursday, the 25th of January at 11 a.m. Trinidad and Tobago time. And this will focus more on the product registration process, and we are looking to focus on those that manufacture chemicals, medicines, and personal care products. So guys, if you have not already signed up for this session, please do so. You can contact me. I have all the information on my LinkedIn page. Also, I'm sure you will be able to find this information on exporTT's social media pages, the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association pages, the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce. The information is everywhere, but you all can definitely contact me, and then we can get you registered for this. So I just want to thank everyone so much for taking the time. Again, I know it was a bit of a busy day in Trinidad and Tobago because of the traffic, but we do appreciate you all taking the time to have this information presented to you guys. So I just want to thank everyone again, and have a great day.
Thank you, Vincent. And if you need anything, we are at your disposal here in Panama.
Great, lovely. Thanks, guys.
Right.